Welcome back, guys, to a brand new video. Now today we have got another episode of the creature submissions. Today we are taking a look at a little bit of a throwback creature, the Titanoceratops. Now this was one of my favorite creatures that was in one of the past creature submissions. Never made it to the official game. It's currently around about the top 10 at the moment. So we're going to be checking this one out today and seeing if this person has any other ideas for the Titanoceratops. Now, if you guys do enjoy today's video, smash that like button. As always, it supports me so much. Be subscribed if you don't want to miss out on all of your ARK Survival Evolved, Survival Ascended, and ARK 2 content. There's so much to say now. Also, before we get into this, I want to give credits to the actual original creator and artwork to, is it DeLong? I wanted to say this right at the start of the video because I do remember a long time ago when I made a video on this. I think it was for the Fjorda creature submissions. So I never like anyone to miss out on the credit early on. So big shout out to DeLong. This, as you can see, this was the Titanoceratops, the anti-GIGA siege beast created over 1 year ago. And there was some really cool stuff there. So if you want to check out some of my old videos on what this idea was, then I do recommend you do that on the Titanoceratops because it really is awesome. But we have to take it by the new version, which this time around, Giga Defense, so still got that involved, Golem Tamer, Mother, and Battering Ram. So the Titanoceratops, Titanic Horn Face, this creature lived in what is now New Mexico and fits right at home in any environment, including scorched earth. I discovered these creatures in my adventures on both the island and here in the desert, similar to the Molatops and the Brontosaurus on the island. They have adapted to living in groups of 2 to 3, guarding their nests and hunting and killing carnivores that dare to venture close. Now, this was like a smaller photo that I found here. It's not really the greatest image to try and show off to you guys of the Titanoceratops. Titanoceratops, yeah, that was right. And as you can see, this was the artwork that was first created by DeLong, which was my favorite. It was so cool, this design. That's why I'm glad they're able to highlight it here in this, because it was some of the best artwork I've seen on one of the creature submissions. So the appearance. So it stands at a staggering 14 meters in height, 21 meters counting in its huge frill. This creature from afar, I would say, almost matches the size of the Gigantosaurus, though it's hard to tell when they are fighting and the Giga is pulled to the ground. It sports 2 very large horns, and that utilizes for both offense and defense, as the female holds its nest on its horns and when danger is nearby. The male's frill is more decorative along the face, while it sports a row of spikes lining the edge of the said frill. The female sports a similar frill, although it's noticeably dipped at the center, allowing for nests to fit easier, I presume. In the wild. So in the wild, it is very hostile compared to most herbivores I have met, yet they seem only to target carnivores and humans, likely due to their nests. From what I've noticed, the female spends the day near the nest and even sometimes lifting it upon its large 2 front horns. It slowly lumbers around when carnivores are nearby and keeps the nest away, while the male charges savagely at any carnivores in sight, impaling them or pulling them into cliff faces. And I have even seen it impale a Gigantosaurus to the ground, though only briefly. The Giga eventually overpowered it. But the female took care of the leftovers, and that Giga was no more. I myself will simply observe from afar, though I'd love to have some more, have some of the cactus they can just completely uprooted. So domestication. This creature I thought would be slow and therefore easy to tranquilize and domesticate. However, after seeing it impale a survivor on just 1 horn and throw it off a cliff, I'll be much more careful. Its head is very durable, and survivors tossed and as survivors tossed dart after dart into it, it just kept coming. I'd assume the best route of domestication is to fire it at its body, as the head seems to not even notice the hits, though some cunning survivors have done the unthinkable and stolen eggs. I'd assume the only way for this was to drop a convincing egg in its nest and steal the other one, or knock out the slower female while she holds the nest, but I can't be sure. If you're to be able to tame this, I suppose bring in some larger fertile eggs or don't get them pulled. So basically swapping the eggs, it could be a good idea there. So as a baby, they can be raised from a baby if picked up by a support creature, a male-wing Procoptodon Titanoceratops, the mother. And also, this is its tamed. When you've finally claimed a Titanoceratops as your own, it has many uses. In combat, its very large horns are the best thing for combating creatures, though the spikes on the males also act as a dual use unstoppable battering ram. By charging forward for long periods, it tends to slow down as a female when hitting objects, though as a male it is protected from these objects as the horns break trees and spikes, and the spikes simply deflect them from flying back towards the body. I have even seen them used to break down an entire building after charging through it long enough and proceed to keep running afterwards. Females, however, are more tame, though still incredibly useful. Using the indented frill, some cheeky survivors attach a cannon to the top of it and... Wait. So, attach a cannon to the top and knocked out a rock golem. I was wondering where we were going with that, to be a battering ram for them. They simply stood behind the cannon protected while the golem failed to break the Titanoceratops' unbreakable guard. As I previously stated, we can't forget about the food and the defense. Using those massive horns, they seem to be capable of shoving anything away or impaling or impaling these things completely as they slowly bleed on its horns. Or, as a more tasty aspect of those horns, they simply dig into the ground to completely uproot large cacti, and trees, allowing for easy water access and even easier food from tree leaves. This is obviously that photo again. So the abilities having very large frills to allow them to take reduced frontal damage and take 0 torpor from the front. Horn attack, simple horn bash dealing very large amounts of knockback and great damage. The horned charge attack, which you guys pretty much know what that's going to be, but we may as well read through it. It can bash its horns into any creature and impale them. This is enough to lift creatures up to a Carno off the ground and let them bleed out of the horn, or pin larger creatures either to the ground or to the wall, making them immobile, leaving the Titanoceratops to stand guard. This can be used to make threatening GIGA stationary, or while another Titanoceratops charges its backside. Though larger creatures can still attack while impaled, just slower and reduced for damage. Unbreakable stance, so using the massive body weight, it stops moving and makes itself stationary. This allows for nothing to push back unless it takes significant hit from the front or the sides. You guys know the uproot from trees that we just talked about. Stationary turn, using its massive horns, it can use the environment to spin on a dime, allowing for increased maneuver, basically be able to move around. So we already talked about the unstoppable charge of the male and the indented position of the females. So the saddles, the male saddle, so the rider and saddlebags, allowing the player to store water in small pouches on the side. The female saddle has a rider, frill passenger, and an empty slot allowing a cannon, ballista, or catapult to be placed and used by the passenger or rider in its unbreakable stance. Nest saddle. Rider saddle and nest upon horns, disable sprinting when eggs are inside the nest, acts as an incubator for its young and the young of other dinos, feeding off food and adding it to its inventory. So seeing this creature initially in the first creature vote in the top 10, I had my own thoughts on what it could be. While the game already has a Giga and a Carcharodontosaurus that do high damage and rule the end game, even in boss fights, there's no real end game big herbivore, and I think we all agree with that. So the first artwork was by Redbubble, and as I said, second artwork by DeLong. And that is pretty much everything you guys need to know currently about this new version of the Titanoceratops. And when I read through it, obviously Wildcard take what they want from the post. They adapt it in their own way. Not everything makes it to the game from their first official, the first idea from this, but still some things do stay from the ideas. And I really believe having an end game herbivore is something that really ARK could benefit from and could be really, really cool. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching today's video. Let me know what you think about the Titanoceratops. Definitely one of my favorite ones out there. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in my next video very soon.